Hello and welcome to GamesRadar's Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2 video review. I'm GamesRadar's Executive Editor Andy Hartup and I'm here with Associate Ed Dave Horton.
Hello.
So Dave, you've finished the game,
I have.
You've reviewed it for the site.
I have.
Tell us, is Kloss boss? That's awful, isn't it?
That
That's
was
so
quite
bad,
dire, but
isn't it?
let's roll with it. I like that. I'm excited by
that.
that pun. I've now got to recover that, and that makes
Let's first talk about it. Adds a load of new gameplay stuff since the original, and I adored the original.
So did I. I'm a massive fan of it.
So tell us how does it compare? I mean, is the new editions good, bad?
Kloss. I'll get this out of the way now because it's painful, but Kloss 2 is nothing like as good as the original Kloss.
Right, that's sad.
It is very sad. It made me sad. I'm still sad. The wonderful thing about the first one is it's a very linear game, but it's very focused with it. It uses that linearity to really push towards a very specific intent of these two or three things. It does very, very well. Yeah. And it's ultra polished because of that. Kloss 2 is kind of the inverse of all of the above. In that it adds a lot of new elements to the gameplay. Well, enough new elements to the gameplay. Several of which are quite incongruous, none of which anyone asked for, and all of which kind of make the game design feel a little bit spread too thin and a little bit muddled.
Okay, so I guess one of the things you're alluding to is probably the stealth sections.
Oh good god, the stealth sections, yeah. Right. Those ones that no one asked for but we got anyway.
As is always the case.
As is always the case. Yeah, there's now a stealth mechanic, which initially seems quite interesting actually, in that Dracula can now turn into a rat, which is always fun. That in itself is good. Yep. And he can throw swarms of bats to distract enemies. That's and between the two, you've got evasion, you've got distraction. It seems quite like a nice cerebral change of pace.
Rat or bat.
Yes, or rat and bat together in unison. But unfortunately, it never really goes anywhere. From the stuff you get in the tutorial, it doesn't really get much more complex than that. Right, okay. You're effectively, there's these big giant Golgotha guard guys who just look like Quake dudes who you can't fight. And every so often you'll just run into a room full of those, or with maybe two of them really. Okay. And you'll have to just either generally trial and error your way through a quite mechanical stealth.
Pretty bad.
And it's always a very mechanical, very simple stealth puzzle. And yeah, ultimately it never really feels like it gels with the rest of the world or actually satisfies on its own. Okay, that is a bit of a shame. Now, one of the other big things that they've done, you alluded to it before, the original game was very linear, very focused. It was just a very, very clever, very well told story from start to finish with some amazing set pieces. Yeah. But now the world is there's open world areas and it's got a modern setting, which seems strange. Yes. This obviously comes off the kind of post credits kind of like sting from the first game where Gabriel wakes up 1,000 years later and everything's gone modern. Spoilers, by the way. Obviously. Oh yeah, maybe let's cut that bit. No, let's not cut that bit. No, you should have played it by now anyway. But everyone knows. But yeah, basically, it's a semi-open world. It's a semi-open world in that it's more like, say, Batman Arkham Asylum than City. In that there's not really a big open city, but there's a lot of sort of linear paths that cross over and ultimately create a big interconnected hub world. That again does not fulfill the potential of what it could have been. Because if you think of the first game, you think of sense of scale, epic visuals, massive set pieces. The city actually makes it feel really small and really enclosed because it's too concerned with street level paths and little boxy corridors and gritty urban grubbiness. And there's never any sense of openness or even it being a real place. It just feels like a quite empty film set, really. That is a shame. So in terms of the visual scope, there's none of that there. I mean, it looks quite grubby in places as well in terms of execution, and in terms of the gameplay potential, it never really. Like I said, it makes the game feel smaller rather than bigger. Yeah, that's a shame. Yeah. Now, it is the conclusion to the Lords of Shadow trilogy. There was the original on PS3 and Xbox, the Mirror of Fate, which was on 3DS. So, how does it round off the trilogy? Is it satisfying? No. I mean, as a big fan of the characters in this story and this entire franchise, I at least hoped that as trudging through the mire of things that were wrong with it, that at least it'd give me an amazing ending to the story. Mercury Steam's been very open and quite ballsy about saying this will be the last Lords of Shadow game they're going to do, or anyone's going to do, and the story ends here. So I thought, right, real conclusion then. No. Right. I mean, without spoilers, No, there just isn't one.
Okay.
It just peters out on a kind of whimper and then just ends effectively.
Right, that is a bit of a shame because the first game showed a lot of promise. Mirror of Fate was good. It just sounds like a bit of a sad end to the trilogy.
It is.
Now, just quickly, you've played it all the way through on current gen.
Yeah.
Do you see this game coming to next gen? I mean, it's very late in the cycle.
It is. It's especially late in the cycle. It's been denied to my face via Dave Cox from Mercury Steam and Konami, but I still wouldn't be surprised. I mean, there is a PC version which looks a fair bit shinier than the console version we reviewed. That obviously is a basis for a next-gen console port. Mercury Steam said they won't do it, but whether someone else will on behalf of Konami, I'm not going to rule that out. I think it depends on how well this one does.
That seems to be the way of things, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tomb Raider was done by a separate studio, and oh god, there's another one coming out that's been done by a separate studio as well. Anyway, the point is, I agree with you. It's very, very possible.
So, all things considered, I'm giving Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2 3 out of 5.
Well, there we go. That's the end of the review. Hope it's helped you made up your mind about whether or not you're going to buy Castlevania or not. If you need more, obviously, Dave's review is on GamesRadar.com, so go and check it out now. Cheers, Dave.